It's Psy-Ops. Psy-Ops is psychological operations, and it's a term that the military uses to describe what you do in warfare which isn't warfare. So essentially, you in a place like Afghanistan, you've got a choice. You either bomb the shit out of a village, or you try and use other techniques to persuade them that actually the Taliban is not very good and you'd be much better off without them. SCL started out as a military contractor, SCL Defence.
We have a fairly substantial defence business. We actually train the British Army, the British Navy, the US Army, US Special Forces. We train NATO, CIA, State Department, Pentagon. It's using research to influence behaviour of hostile audiences. How do you persuade 14 to 30-year-old Muslim boys not to join Al-Qaeda? Essentially communication warfare.
They'd worked in Afghanistan, they'd worked in Iraq, they'd worked in various places in Eastern Europe. But the real game changer was they started using information warfare in elections.
There's a lot of overlap because it's all the same methodology.
All of the campaigns which Cambridge Analytica, SCL, did for the developing world, it was all about practicing some new technology or trick. How to persuade people, how to suppress turnout or how to increase turnout. And then it's like, okay, now we've got the hang of it, let's use it in Britain and America. It sounds like quite apocalyptic, but it does feel like we are entering into a whole new era. We can see that authoritarian governments are on the rise, and they are all using these politics of hate and fear on Facebook. Look at Brazil. There's this right-wing extremist who's been elected, and we know that WhatsApp, which is part of Facebook, was really clearly implicated in the dissemination of fake news there. And look at what happened in Myanmar. There is evidence that Facebook was used to incite racial hatred, which caused a genocide. We also know that the Russian government was using Facebook's tools in the US. There's evidence that Russian intelligence created fake Black Lives Matter memes. And when people clicked on them, they were taken to pages where they were actually invited to protests that were organised by the Russian government. At the same time, they were setting up pages targeting adversary groups like Blue Lives Matter. It's about stoking fear and hate to turn the country against itself. Divide and conquer.
White power! Fascism power!
These platforms which were created to connect us have now been weaponized. And it's impossible to know what is what because it's happening on exactly the same platforms that we chat to our friends or share baby photos. Nothing is what it seems.